Good morning, friends. Welcome to a session on current affairs. In this current affairs session, we are going to discuss about the recently passed farm bills. To be specific, we are going to discuss about 3 farm bills that the government of India recently passed, indicating them as agricultural reforms. Before we get into that, we have to discuss about 3 different things. One is, what is MSP? This is number 1. And again we are going to discuss about CACP. What is CACP? And number 3, we are going to discuss about what is the current situation and how the market agricultural produce is being sold, or how the mechanism works. Interim to that, along with these 2, we are going to learn about APMCs also. Okay, first let us learn about MSP. MSP stands for minimum support price. What is minimum support price? Whenever a farmer produces something from his agriculture field, he has to sell it to make profit. In India, for whatever reasons, certain agricultural produce cannot be sold high all times. Sometimes the price of, let us take the price of rice. 1 ton of rice sometimes goes for, let's say, 4,000 rupees. Some other times, due to supply and demand gap or high supply and low demand fluctuations, the price of rice, 1 ton of rice, might fall to just 1,000 rupees. In order to protect farmers and encourage farming and ensure food security for our nation and the world, the government of India came up with the concept of minimum support price. In essence, minimum support price initially was envisaged as a security net to farmers, to protect them from debts and ensure their security for the crop. Later on, it took on a different role, so we will come into all of that. First, minimum support price. Minimum support price is nothing but a farmer produces something, he is guaranteed a certain price for his produce or agricultural produce. This is minimum support price. Now we are going to learn about APMC. We will learn about CACP later, but we will learn first about APMCs. Number 2 is APMCs. APMCs are what maintains or implements the concept of MSP. APMCs are nothing but, simply put, they are mandis. APMCs are nothing but mandis. So what are mandis? I am a farmer or farmers, and I have buyers here. I have companies, let us say companies, that want to buy my produce from me. In order to implement the concept of MSPs, the government of India and various state governments started with a concept or a mechanism called APMCs. APMCs are nothing but agricultural produce market committees. These committees are local committees set up by state governments and enacted by state government laws. So APMCs are the middlemen. So what is the role of APMCs? In APMCs, the state governments give licenses to individual traders. So what happens is, the farmers brings his produce to APMCs, and the traders, the licensed traders that are in APMCs, that is mandis, buy the produce from the farmer, and they are stored in storages. Now what happens? the farmer sells his produce to licensed traders in mandis, and the traders generally store them in cold storages or food godowns. Now what happens is, the companies, they need the agricultural produce for their industries, right? Either food processing, or companies like Reliance, Big Bazaar, they tend to own their own agricultural reselling mechanisms in their companies, so they need the farmer produce. So what these companies do is, they go to AMPCs and tag along with the licensed traders and say that we want to purchase 500 tons of rice from you. The farmers, generally what happens is, one more thing, in India, large percentage of farmers are smaller landholders. I mean to say is, the minimum land holding capacity in India is 1.5 acres. That is 1.5 hectares to certain extent. So what happens is, 5 to 10 farmers come to mandis, sell their rice or quantities of rice or pulses or whatever it may be to traders in licensed traders in APMPs. The companies go to APMPs and purchase the produce from the traders. So in essence, APMPs are middlemen. Here the interesting thing is, different states have different styles of APMPs. In Andhra Pradesh, for example, it's Andhra Pradesh Civil Supplies Corporation. In Gujarat, it's Gujarat Civil Supplies Corporation. So different states have different civil supplies corporations. So you have to understand this. No state has an uniform system to buy produce from farmers and store it or sell it to companies. Each state has their own systems and mechanisms, and this is all done through a law called APMC Act. That each state passed in their own state legislation. These are APMPs. I'll repeat again. MSP is minimum support price. APMPs are agricultural produce market committees, mandis. These are mandis. So these are the essential middlemen. So what is the relationship between APMPs, MSP and CACP? Coming to the point of CACP, number 3, CACP. CACP stands for Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices. It's nothing but it's a statutory body by the Government of India that is entrusted with the task of fixing the minimum support price. So what they do is, every year, twice a year, that is, one is Kharif season and one is Rabi season, they come out with the price of MSP for commodities that are covered under MSPs. Currently the Government of India covers 24 different items or 24 items or farm produce, agricultural produce under MSPs. Each year, CACP, twice a year, that is Kharif season, one is Rabi season, comes out and determines the price for 24 items. That is the 24 items MSP. So they set the price. Farmers go to APMC. APMCs implement the price and they sell the produce at the MSP. If the MSP comes into play if the market fluctuations are very high or very low. So in order to protect the farmers, MSP is implemented. There is one more important concept called price discovery. In 2016, Niti Aayog conducted a study in various states all over India. The survey concluded that only 20% of farmers knew what was the MSP for the price of MSP for the crop that they are planting. So only 20% of farmers knew the MSP for the crop. Rest of 70% came to know about the MSP for their crop after they completed their plantation of crop. I mean to say is, they already laid the seed and they had already started the agriculture. Then they came to know about the MSP. So you can see there is a discrepancy here. Most of the farmers are unaware of what is the MSP for their crop. So what is the need for farmers to know the MSP? If farmers know the MSP of their crop that they are going to plant in their field or in their agricultural field, if the price of the MSP is higher, let us take an example of Punjab. So, and let us take an example of the year 2020. So, in 2020, CACP comes out with the price of rice. MSP is, let's say, 500 rupees per ton. And if you are a farmer and if you know the price of MSP for rice is 500, you can either go for rice in order to ensure your security that you get your investment back, or you can go for an higher priced crop that is currently in demand in the market. So knowing your MSP price for the crop that you are going to plant in your agriculture field is important. But what does the Niti Aayog study states? Only 20%, that is only 20% of farmers know what was the MSP for the crop that they are going to plant in the Kharif season or Rabi season. 80% don't even know what was the MSP. It may be due to multiple factors. It may be failure of government to publicize the MSP, or a lot of factors play into it. So we cannot speculate on that. So note this, that only 20% know what is the price for MSP for their crop. 80% don't know. So that is the Niti Aayog study. Coming back to what is the current, I told you, right? You have a farmer, you have APMC, you have companies. Farmer comes to the traders buy the produce from the farmer, the companies buy the produce from the traders. This is the silo. Let me show it to you. Farmers, mandis, companies. So what is the current position? The farmer comes to the mandi, the mandis sell it to the companies. The farmer cannot directly sell it to the companies. He can sell it to the companies, but there is a cost attached to it. Whenever a farmer decides to skip mandi system and directly sell it to the companies, the state government gets into the picture. Mind you, the mandis are regulated by the state government. So whenever a farmer decides to sell his produce to companies directly, the state government comes into the picture and says, hold on, you cannot do that. If you want to sell it to the company. So in earlier system, if a farmer wants to sell something, he has to go through mandi. There is only one way. If the companies also want to buy something, they have to go to mandi. There is only one way. That is one-way traffic. Farmer sells, company buys. Farmer sells, mandi sells, company buys. So farmer is taken out of the equation. That was the system. What does this bill do? And one more thing you have to remember. State also created roadblocks. State came in and said, if you want to sell directly, you cannot sell. If you want to sell in some other state, you are going to add tax, so you cannot do that also. this is the master stroke. This is the part I like about this bill. This bill comes and says the Mandi system will exist. We are not going to touch the Mandi system. But what we are going to do is, we are going to remove the roadblocks. We are going to remove the roadblocks. Means the state cannot interfere when the farmer decides to sell directly to the company. The state government cannot add tax. No more tax or cess. Removed one more roadblock. I told you, right, if the farmer finds better price in Maharashtra, he cannot sell from Andhra Pradesh to Maharashtra. State government will come and add some more cess on that. Central government, the bill says you cannot do that. If the farmer wants to sell to Jammu and Kashmir also, he can sell it. He has the right to sell it, and you cannot tax him for that. So he is free of tax. Let us say a farmer from Assam finds a better price for his tea in Jammu and Kashmir. He can sell it in Jammu and Kashmir, and state government of Assam cannot do anything, or they cannot add tax to it. That is the good part about the bill. Number 2 is, it defines what is trade area. Generally, I told you, right, if you remember, I told you about APMC Act. Each state government passed its own legislation stating about different things. We are not going to bother about it, but you remember the act, APMC Act. In this act, it defines what is trade area. Trade area, let us say, is a space where the farmer is allowed to sell his produce and the traders are allowed to purchase his produce. So they define that you can either sell in mandis or private locations that a person holds license for. Out of this place you cannot sell anywhere. If you sell that, you will again get taxed. Central government, the bill, the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Bill says that removes this entire clause and says if the farmer wishes to sell his produce in front of his own gate, he can do that. He can do trade anywhere, however you want, at any time. You don't need to come to Mandi. You can sell it in front of your gate of the agricultural field. You can sell it at the doorstep of the company that is buying the produce. You can sell it in middle of the road, provided you don't block the traffic. It frees him up from this trade area rule. So that is second thing. Third thing is, it provides a framework for e-trading. If you don't understand the concept of e-trading, let me give you an example. E-trading is nothing bad. It's like Amazon. I hope you understand this. You have Amazon, right? So I am a seller. I have a pen with me. I post an ad or list my pen in Amazon. You are a buyer, consumer. You come to Amazon, you see my pen, you buy my pen. Me will not interact. You interact with Amazon, I interact with Amazon. I list my pen, you buy my pen. Amazon will take some percentage. Amazon will send me the money, I will send you the pen. We will not be interacting. This is not exactly what this e-trading option is for. It is as similar as that. So this e-trading platform, I am a farmer. You are a consumer, company, or an individual. It doesn't matter. As a farmer, I list my farm produce in the e-trading website. You as a company come to the e-trading website, scroll. There are multiple farmers, let's say hundreds of farmers are there. One company, you need one specific thing with one specific strain or some kind of a specialty. So you go through all the listings available, you select one person, you pay that person. You might be in any state, he might be in any state. You both can have a transaction. This is what the e-trading will provide you. So this is the third important aspect of the first bill. This is only the third aspect of the first bill. These are the three important aspects of farmers' produce, trade and commerce, protection and facilitation. In the name itself, they are protecting the farmers' interests and facilitation. That is the first bill. There is this clause in this bill called clause 14. What is it? CLA clause 14. Sorry. What is clause 14? It gives central government to frame rules for this bill. It takes away the power of state governments. State government can no longer formulate bills. Only central government can formulate bills. What is the advantage of this? As I told you, right, each state government has different interpretation of APMC's Act. That happens no longer. Central government comes and says one law every state has to follow. We are going to add a tax to it. They add a cess/tax. What is the situation when somebody increases the tax on your produce? The price goes up. So the companies will not buy. They say we cannot buy that, we won't pay that much of high cost. We'll simply go to mandis and buy it at whatever the price they are selling. Because for a fact, when you add the cess and tax to the farmer's produce, it definitely goes up compared to the price at mandis. So this encourages farmers to sell their produce directly to companies. So that is a roadblock in farmers' freedom to sell their produce to whomever they wish to. Second thing is, not only the state governments do that, if the price, let us go with an example. Let me tell you an example. See, in Andhra Pradesh, the price of rice is, let us say, 500 rupees. In AP, price is 500. But in Maharashtra, the price is 1000 rupees. I am a farmer in Andhra Pradesh. What is the price for MSP? That is 500 rupees per ton. But in Maharashtra, it's 1000 rupees. As a farmer, 1000 rupees is very attractive to me. So what I do is, I try to sell my rice in Maharashtra because I know I'll get a good price in Maharashtra. Again, the state government comes into the picture. They say, hold on, you cannot do that. They say, since you are not selling it in mandis in our state, they add the tax that they already are adding, and they also add interstate cess. Interstate cess. You can imagine what happens here. The farmer, he cannot sell to the companies directly in his own state, neither can he sell it to other mandis, not only companies in other state mandis also, because the state government says, I am going to add some price to it. Again the price, this fellow gets, again the price increases for him. Let's say for him, he is selling at 250 rupees. The government says and comes and adds some 300 rupees as tax or 400 rupees. The price goes up to 650 rupees. Then again he loses his competitive edge and nobody buys his produce. He has only two options. Either he has to bring it to mandis or he has to throw the produce on the road. So at every stage, the farmers try to get some kind of a profit for his hard work. Either the mandi cronies or the state government comes into the picture and says, you cannot do that, you are not free to do whatever you want, you have rules and regulations and you have to pay cess. Okay, let us say that is to encourage local that is to let us go with an altruistic option. We can say that the state government is doing that because they want to secure the food for their own district or state. But what happens is, when you come to the mandi, if you know how mandi operates, it's simply put, it's a licensed Raj state. Who can function in mandi? In mandi, only licensed traders are allowed to buy or sell goods. The farmer comes to the mandi, there are some XYZ person who is a licensed holder to either purchase or sell it to the companies. So he holds all the cards. If he is angry towards that particular farmer, he can dictate a decree that nobody buy that farmer's produce, causing this farmer losses. So these kinds of things happen in mandis. The state government came. So this is the current scenario. This is what has been happening for the past, let's say, decade or so. Remember, MSP was started as a safety net program. What is the current situation? MSP is the king. So instead of it becoming the safety net, it became the main part of the agricultural agriculture sector and agricultural transactions. So what is the current scenario? The government of India said that, looked at it and said, we are going to bring some regulatory changes and free up the market and move towards this open system and capitalistic system. The central government bought 3 farm bills. Number 1 is Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Protection and Facilitation Bill for 2020. That is bill number 1. Bill number 2 is the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement of Prices, Assurance and Farm Services Bill 2020. The third and final bill is the Essential Commodities Amendment Act of 2020. So these are the 3 important bills. We will discuss bill number 1. What is bill number 1? Farmers Produce, I'll write it down. Bill number 1 is Farmers Trade and Commerce brackets Protection and Facilitation Bill. This is the first bill. What is the first bill? Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Protection and Facilitation Bill. What is this bill contain? In simple terms, it is brought to overhaul the entire mechanism that we had discussed. So earlier what I told you, farmer mandi. What is the result of this? Unification of system. Any state the farmer goes, same system. One system, one nation. That is unifying. No more difference. If you look at the rules and regulations in Assam, same. If you look at the rules and regulations in Jammu and Kashmir, same. If you go to Daman and Diu, same rules apply for everybody. So unified system. Easy for transactions. That is the most important aspect of this. Number 2. These are the important aspects of the first bill. What is that? Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Bill. Second bill is also very important. Second bill is the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement of Prices. So second bill. First bill we have completed the discussions. Second bill. The second bill is the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement of Price Assurance and Farm Services Bill 2020. What is this bill stand for? The bill is to provide contract farming. The concept of contract farming is not new to India, but this is new for the whole nation. Earlier, companies used to approach farmers on an individual basis. They used to agree, we need this much of, let us say, sugarcane. This already happens in sugarcane, and some kind of a specialty agricultural fields where they need cotton or some kind of produce. So they go to the farmer or a group of farmers, or go to a village and say, we need this much amount of cotton, so you grow cotton this year, we'll give you this much of price, and they get into an agreement, and the farmers get a fair price. The company is also they get a secured produce without any delays or anything, provided any natural calamities happen. So this concept is already been in usage in different parts of India. What this bill intends to do is mainstream the idea of contract farming. What is the use of this bill? It seeks to provide a national framework on farming agreements that empower the farmers. One nation, one system. Same thing here, national framework. Wherever you go, the rules and regulations of the contract are same. The person from Jammu and Kashmir and come to Kanyakumari and say, I want to buy this, what is the agreement? He can show the same agreement. If some person from Gujarat comes to Arunachal Pradesh and say, I want to buy this many, let us say, tea, this much of tea, what is the agreement? The farmer can say, same agreement everywhere, anywhere. I am telling you in simple terms, it is a little bit legally complicated, but for now you need to understand that it's same. So a national framework, anywhere, same framework. So same rules apply for everybody. What does the rule says? It says that farmer may enter into a written agreement, not a oral agreement, a written agreement with a certain safeguards built into the agreement to protect the farmer interests. So I am a private company, I go to a farmer who is mostly uneducated, and I can manipulate him with my knowledge. So what this bill intends to do is, it intends to remove any scope for me trying to manipulate that farmer. So because of a national framework in agreement policies. Coming to the crux of the bill, it has certain safeguards. What are the, you may ask, what are the safeguards for the bill? Here are the safeguards for the bill. One is minimum period into an agreement. That is, there has to be a minimum period of 1 year or one agricultural cycle. The maximum period is 5 years. Beyond that, you can negotiate, but there are certain rules and agreements. Price should be mentioned in the agreement. At what price the farmer is intending to sell, and at what price you are intending to buy, you have to tell it in the agreement. These agreements are backed by a registration authority that the government of India is going to set up, so that the farmer and the company has to sign the agreement and upload it into a e-registry, where it comes under the purview of central government. So these are the safeguards. If anything happens, if let us say I and you me and the company, farmer and the company don't agree, what is the redressal mechanism? Can I go to the court? You don't need to the court. The bill does not agree for the courts to intervene in this matter. They specifically say that courts are not allowed. So what is the solution? They formulated something called conciliation boards. Conciliation boards are a simple board where you as a farmer and the company can go to that board, redressal board, and say, this is our problem, please solve us. They have 30 days to solve the problem. If you are not happy with the conciliation board, you can go to the subdivisional magistrate, who happens to be the collector. He has also 30 days to solve the problem. If you are again not happy with the solution that the collector has given you, you can go to the appellate authority of the district or the state and get resolved. There also you have 30 days to solve the problem. This is bill number 2. Bill number 3. Bill number 3 is nothing but the Essential Commodities Amendment Act. We have already an act called Essential Commodities Act. This is an amendment to that act. What is this act? The Essential Commodities Act was brought into ensure food security for the nation. So the government has the rights to impose regulation on production, distribution, storage, transportation of certain items. There are, I don't remember the number, there are certain items, agricultural produce, the government has regulations over whether you can sell them or not, where you have to sell them, where you can store them, or can you store more number of high amounts of quantity of food or low amount. So there are certain regulations. So government has control or oversight over that particular items. Some items are example onions, potatoes, some pulses, edible oil, cooking oil, all this. This bill removes that. This amendment was specifically brought to remove the some items from the Essential Commodities Act, and they amended the act itself also. Earlier you can impose Essential Commodity Act on at any time you want. Now they said under extremely extraordinary conditions only you can implement the Essential Commodity Act, like our finance minister's favorite word, act of God situations, like floods, war, earthquakes, famine, etc. Acts of God. So they removed onion, cereals, pulses, oil, seeds. If I remember correctly, they removed potatoes also from the list. So they no longer anybody can sell anything. Now they also amended one more important aspect of the Essential Commodities Act. Earlier, the government can say, depending upon various factors, you have to store this much quantity, or you can store only, let us say I have potatoes. The government comes and says, you can only store 100 kgs of potatoes in your house. If you have anything more, you have to sell it off. Now the act says, if the market price of potatoes is 5 rupees, you can store how much ever you want, provided there are buffer stocks. Number 2 is, if the market price of potatoes is, let's say, 100 rupees, you can store only 5 kgs. So the stock limitations has been brought down to dependent on prices. If the price is high, you cannot store. If the price is low, you can store within limits. There are certain regulations for that, but we are not bothered about it. So these are the basis of 3 important bills. Now come to the problem that right now the government or the farmers are agitating on. You understand the concept, how the current process is, why the farmers are, what are the insides of the 3 bills. So why are these farming? By looks of it, the farm bill regulation, the 3 bills are very helpful towards farmers. But still again, you have seen the bills are okay. They say they are talking about the welfare of farmers, but why again farmers are agitating? The concept comes to MSP, the first culprit, MSP. In all 3 bills, nowhere do they mention about MSPs. Then again, why farmers are worried about MSPs? They say that we cannot trust this government. What is to say that this government from next year do not move forward with the concept of MSPs? They remove the MSPs. So they are afraid of that their safety net will be gone, and they will be at the mercy of private corporations like Reliance, Big Bazaar, some other companies, Metro, what all. So in mandis, though they know they are being exploited, they feel that they have some certain of security with the mandi system, APMC system. But when private players come into the picture, they are apprehensive about it, or they are afraid of it. Can this system work? Might be a question that you might get. This is not the first time that this system is being implemented. This system is already in place in states like Kerala, Maharashtra, Bihar. Last year, if I am right, a study was done in Bihar about this lack of MSPs, or in Bihar what they did is they abolished the APMC system. There are no mandis in Bihar. A private organization called National Council for Applied Research, and went to